Hello, everybody. It's me, your best buddy Basil. We are just about to get the show started here. There's a couple last-minute preparations. Let's see. Oh, one thing. If anybody missed it last episode, there's somebody who is looking for designs. It's producer Jacob. He's looking for designs for a Nephilim penguin tattoo. Yes, very exciting. So if any of the artists, or if any of you are artists, you're out there and you have been wondering what sort of creation you could make to participate in the show, in the production of the show, we need Nephilim penguin tattoo sketches. You can send them in. Go to canarycry.art or send them to Nephilim penguin tattoo at yahoo.com. That's a good way to do it. Well, who do we got here? Baby Sheep, Warrior Chick Jan, MSDS, Shield Means for Christ, Canary Peeps, all sorts of people over there on Rumble. Let's see, we got, YouTube is coming in too. We got Saul, DePaul, Courtney, S, Daniel, G, Patrick. Okay, what's up, everybody? Hey, if you're on, where are you? If you're on YouTube, please go to Rumble. Make a Rumble account. Sign up. It's the best place. So far, we have not gotten kicked off for anything. We get kicked off of everything. But so far, Rumble's been pretty good. I'm going to pop a link to this episode in there. Follow us on Rumble. Lots of people are doing that. Lots of movement over there in the Rumble numbers. And it's a good place. They seem to be getting their act together. But, that could change at any moment. Okay. But other than that, I think we're going to get the show started here. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't send out the text message. Oh, no. I'm going to do that right now. Here we go. Text message alert is out. And if you want to get on the list to receive text messages from me, we don't take your name, don't take your info. We just put your number on the list, and we just send you a little notification before we go live. That way, no matter where you are in the world, if you have cell service, you will know that we are going live, because you can't quite count on the big tech notifications. All right. Well, let's get this party started, folks. Let's do it.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is April 10th, 2023, and we are live to tape on episode 611. And today, Harry HIVEMIND. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best egg boy, Basil.
Weird. And my name is Gonz, a face like the sun resurrection, director of the Age of Deceit films. Wife calls me the Cabana Boy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ after Resurrection Sunday here, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events and today's immersion phenomena. Days of Noah everywhere. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's hard to deny that we're kind of living in the days of Noah.
Yeah, that seems to come up actually kind of a lot, Gonz.
Yeah.
So let everybody know. Go to Rumble. Follow us on Rumble. It's a good place. So far, they have not done us dirty in any shape or form. That could change at any moment. But if you're relying on YouTube or any one of our now very limited broadcast locations, give a shout out to Rumble. Go to Rumble. Follow us there. That'd be great. But because we are on YouTube today, Gonz, we will need to open up that big old can of disclaimer.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. Yeah, huh? And we got a great show today. Let me give you a bit of a rundown, Gons.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Let me bring you up to speed, folks. We're going to be starting out with old Hairy Legs himself and his deep web digital strategy to fight the war against misinformation and malcontents. That's right. We are mobilizing, says Mr. Biden himself, and we'll learn what that means for all of us who like to go on the internet. Then we'll be checking in with FLIPPY, and FLIPPY Sports Ball continues to evolve day after day. What does that mean for human athletes, no matter what gender they are? Then we'll be checking in on China. Lots of China news and a bit of a deep dive into Maoism and what that might have in store for our near future. Then Trump, dun dun dun. Who's back? It's the Merchant of Death, Victor Bout. Has a message for Trump. Of course, we got to follow this guy because we have previously pontificated on Mr. Victor Bout becoming the non-state actor for the forever war. We got a little Cyborg update that'll make your skin crawl. And then we've got a note from the American Jesuit about the modern-day Tower of Babel. Then at the end of the show, we're very happy to be revisiting one of our favorite characters from over the years, and that is Jen Psaki. That's right, we'll be circling back at the end of the show. But first, Gons, our lead stories.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy. COVID.
Collective consciousness.
Armageddon's on the way.
Joe's been right about everything, and he continues to be right about his digital strategy, an army of influencers. That's the headline from Axios. Are you ready to fight the war, Basil? Against Biden's bees? All right.
My country.
Here's what it says. President Biden's not yet official bid for re-election will lean on hundreds of social media influencers, in quotations, who will tout Biden's record and soon may have their own briefing room at the White House, Axios has learned.
Ooh.
Yeah, special treatment for these individuals. Why it matters? The move aims to boost Biden's standing among young voters who are crucial to Democrats' success in elections and to potentially counter former President Trump's massive social media following if he's the GOP nomination in 2024. Biden's digital strategy team will connect with influencers across the nation to target those who may not follow the White House or Democratic Party on social media. Hey, we checked that. We checked that. I mean, we don't follow it like, support it in a sense to that degree. I don't know what that means.
I do.
Who may not follow
it? I love the White House Twitter channel. It's it's my favorite thing. I love it so much I call it a Twitter channel.
Or who have tuned out mainstream media altogether. It's an interesting target, isn't it?
Yeah.
What influencers have tuned out mainstream media altogether?
Well, it's not about influencers. It's about the people, the people who have tuned out mainstream media altogether. They're not getting the influence of the full power of the American presidency, which, of course, is almost always had a friendly, I don't know, disposition toward the media and the government, of course, working hand in hand to propagandize each and every individual, not only into supporting the government, or at least not revolting in sort of a violent way, but also to support the very foundations of the capitalist system. It requires people to tune in to the mainstream media, and I mean, it is smart of them to recognize that is at risk. The amount of even quote unquote normies who are tuning out of mainstream, they lost all of their credibility. Continue to when it comes to the pandemic and how all of that was handled. It's being discussed around the dinner table, even by those who would consider themselves friendly to the establishment, about the failures of mainstream media. So I could see how whoever is in charge of thinking for Biden could recognize that there is an entire group of people that they cannot just simply craft a message for. They must find a way to gain their attention, because it's one thing to craft a message to go out on mainstream media. It's another thing to capture the hearts and minds of people who have turned against it, Gons. He's got this obviously was not Biden's idea.
No.
So I'm curious to find out who's behind this.
What we'll find also, I think, thematically, politicians, especially unpopular ones, are becoming more and more like truthers. Their model to reach out is like a truther model from like the 2010s. It's kind of interesting to watch. Four horsemen,
Oh, I was just going to mention too. They mentioned specifically Trump's social media following, which
we'll get there.
More or less is an organic following.
Yeah,
there's no mandate from. I mean, if anything, they're trying to get you to not follow Trump. There are powers at work trying to stop you from following him on social media. The difference being, Trump doesn't have the might of the American government forcing people to pay attention to him. Whereas in this case, you have, Biden doing exactly that, mobilizing the resource of the richest country in the world to try to get Biden more social media followers. That's a pretty good deal, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay. So it says here the 4 Biden digital staffers, which we can call the 4 horsemen of the Biden's digital hive mind, are focused on influencers and independent content creators. Independent content creators. That's us, Basil. Maybe we're targeted. The staffers officially work for the White House, not Biden's campaign. But reaching young and suburban voters is clearly a priority. So these are people in the White House, not necessarily on Biden's campaign team. So this is interesting.
See, this always confuses me. That sounds illegal to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like Biden should be able to use taxpayer dollars to campaign for his presidency.
Yeah, well. Other things here, bullet points. A measure of the importance Team Biden is placing on its digital strategy. Rob Flaherty, who leads the effort, has been named assistant to the president, the same rank as the White House communications director and press secretary. So this isn't just like, oh yeah, there's a guy that's going to do digital strategy now. No.
Yeah.
He's like
bringing in some interns.
Yeah. He's communications director, press secretary level stuff. Okay. What they're saying, quote, we're trying to reach young people, but also moms who use different platforms to get information, and climate activists and people whose main way of getting information is digital, said Jen O'Malley Dillon, White House Deputy Chief of Staff. I don't know. Maybe it sounds like they want to lock down the internet too, with the whole the Restrict Act. That seems to make more sense under this context. The details: hundreds of unpaid and like-minded content creators are working with Biden's White House.
Unpaid?
Yeah, unpaid and like-minded.
Come on, guys. You're working for the president. You should be getting paid.
Well,
value yourself, okay?
One of the guys is Harry Sisson. So you got Harry there, a 20-year-old New York University student who breaks down the day's news on TikTok, which is interesting. We'll get to a little bit of the conflict there. Boston College professor Heather Cox Richardson, who has a widely read Substack and huge Twitter following, which is interesting because Twitter recently supposedly blocked some Substack links and stuff. So and Twitter trying to create their own Substack, which is a whole different thing there. But you can see how maybe Substack, there's a reason why I couldn't even publish anything on it. But it could be other reasons too. And Vivian, to a former trader who discusses financial topics in short clips on TikTok and Instagram. So when you zoom in, a dedicated White House briefing space for influencers to meet in person or by remote would be unprecedented and a sign that the traditional press briefing room no longer would be the administration's only messaging center. It also would give influencers more consistent access to the president. And then check this out. We actually asked the White House, when are we going to get press briefing passes? Said Sisson, that 20-year-old guy, Harry Sisson, who has 660,000 followers on TikTok. Maybe that's why he got in.
I think this is interesting. They're recognizing the impotence of the White House press briefing, and what's her name? Jean-Pierre,
Karine Jean-Pierre, yeah.
Yes. Kareem Jean-Pierre, who is so easy to criticize and has been really fun to watch, although we have not been bringing as many clips from her as we did from Jen Psaki. And Jen Psaki, who is a treasure, a national treasure. Jen Psaki was a huge role, or what I don't know, played a huge role rather during coronavirus. Was official White House propagandists, and but those briefings go out to the mainstream media, which a lot of people don't pick up on. Right. This is sort of an interesting concept in the Biden administration completely bypassing the traditional role of the media in the White House and trying their best, like Trump did, to go straight to the people. It's a bigger deal, I think, than it initially sort of comes off as. Yeah, because you talk about standards and norms and things like this that everybody was all so upset about Trump for violating. This is a bit of a slap in the face to the Fifth Estate, or whatever they are, the Fourth Estate, being the media, who, as gatekeepers of information, that's why they're there. That's what they've built fortunes and empires on, is being the gatekeepers to information from the government to the people. And now you're letting TikTok influencers into the White House? What is this nonsense? It's really I really want to know whose idea this was, because it's brilliant, but also seems kind of dangerous.
Yeah. Well, they talk about a State of the Union watch party, because that's what you do online now. The result, the administration is moving toward giving influencers their own briefing room in the White House. And by the way, if Trump wins, doesn't it set an interesting precedent for his 2024 to 2028 presidency? If his whole briefing room is all just social media influencers, what kind of influencers would get in there? I mean, there's already a culture there, or like a big well of people who would work well in this framework. Reality check. Well,
it's interesting because let's just talk about conservative influencers. What you talk about Ben Shapiro and Psaki and all these guys who essentially are social media influencers who have been forced to take the form of traditional media. You get a big enough following, you get known for reporting things and following, maybe getting a couple inside scoops. It's an influencer sort of posing as a traditional media person. And in this case, you've got influencers who have no need to pretend to be traditional media. They're just letting them straight in, except for the, so no longer do they need to become a social media influencer and pose as a reporter or pose as a traditional media person. It really marks quite the shift.
Yeah. Reality check, according to Axios, Biden's following on social media don't compare with Trump's, especially on especially on YouTube and Facebook. It says especially on twice there. You got to get your editor on that. Biden's strategy is aimed more at platforms favored by younger voters, such as Instagram and TikTok. The intrigue: the administration is courting support on TikTok, even as it has called for the platform to be sold or else risk being banned in the U.S. because of its owner's ties to China's government. I like how they just slipped that in there as an intrigue. They're like, it's intriguing that they're looking for TikTok influencers while they're trying to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
And this could be a move, the White House, or at least, the Biden digital strategy team or whatever, to grab the best influencers or the most, the susceptible ones that would volunteer to, support Biden or whatever in whatever way, away from TikTok. If there is some kind of fallout with TikTok, these high influencers who have hundreds of thousands of followers, at least a few of them, can jump ship to whatever, I would imagine once FedNow is out there, there's going to be all kinds of integration with different platforms or newer platforms. So, I can see that being a thing where these influencers make the new platform, whatever the new platform is, away from TikTok.
Right.
So, interesting.
You get sort of a government blessing on whatever new platform.
Sounds like China. I don't know. Everything's starting to sound like China. But meanwhile, as Joe is creating his little HIVEMIND team, Fox News reported House Oversight Committee subpoenaed banks, Biden family associates, and probe of finances. So, again, they're looking at the Biden family associates' financial records. And, of course, Bank of America, Cathay Bank, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, USA, NA, as well as former Hunter Biden business associate Mervyn Yan have been asked for financial records. So we'll see. This type of thing, you never know if it goes all the way to the top, but at least it's moving in that direction. And also on Fox, there was this chyron that reads, New World Order cuts Biden out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which is interesting because, the whole conversation was Trump is against the New World Order, forever. It's like the New World Order doesn't like Trump. But now all of a sudden the world is moving on away from Biden. And this guy, Peter St. Ong, he's the Heritage Foundation economist, has some interesting words that reflect what we've been talking about with the economy and the U.S. dollar and all that stuff in a minute clip.
If the abandonment of the dollar takes off, for 80 years now, we have flooded the world with U.S. dollars. They've kept hold of them. That's been fantastic because they give them useful things. They give us toasters and cars and copper mines for those dollars. Now, the problem is if we throw that away, all of those dollars come flooding back into America. That means we have way too many dollars. We have a word for that, which is inflation. So we could see enormous inflation, and that's at a time when our banks are already wobbling. Other countries have their way of doing things. If we go in there and we start dictating social policy, they start to get scared. And, what happened after Russia went into Ukraine is we seized the assets of the Russian central bank. Those were the dollars that they were holding. We did not even do that during the Soviet Union. We had, proxy wars going on all over the world, and we didn't even do that. This administration is just absolutely reckless.
Reckless administration. Joe Biden. Wrecking the U.S. dollar.
Reckless. I think that's giving him too much credit.
But it's an interesting framing to suggest that the New World Order is kind of moving on without Biden, thanks to Joe and his, horrific economic moves during his presidency.
Well, we've seen the exact language coming from Xi and from Putin, and now they're sort of smaller allies and friends around the world. That this New World Order talk, it's been going on for quite some time, but especially because of and during the Ukraine thing, it's become a piece of normal parlance. And when they're talking about the New World Order, not only is it does it not include the U.S., but explicitly excludes the U.S.
Yeah, it's the U.S. passing the baton. And I think that's maybe what Joe represents. He's old. He's kind of lost it. U.S., they're old. They've kind of lost it. They lost their way. They abused their power. It's time to move on to a new power.
Mm-hmm.
And so pass the baton to the new Atlantis, United States. And that's what Joe has done. So there you go. And, you know, as the transition takes place and things get worse and worse here in America, you need TikTok influencers to make sure that the young people are good to go. And they got their FedNow app on their phones, and, you know, the government can give them money or take it away, depending on, you know, what you're buying or what you're trading or what you're spending your money on. So, or what you believe, maybe. So, interesting times on this interesting Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday. Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
That's right. It is Monday, the day after Easter. Dun, dun, dun. How was your weekend?
Busy. Lots of running around with kids, playing some worship at the church. And, you know, we had a little family gathering out in the lawn with some neighbors. And yeah, I love our neighbors. They're very cool people. But we got really talking about golf. And I was thinking, I've been getting into golf a little bit more just because, I don't know, I guess I'm 40. So I'm supposed to play golf now, right? That's a thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Yeah. So I went over the weekend to the range to hit some golf clubs or golf balls. I mean, swing some golf clubs, and I got an 8-iron. This may mean nothing to you, Baz. I don't know how much golf you know. I hit an 8-iron about 170 yards, which I was very excited about because according to my chart, 170 yards is what PGA people hit with 8-irons. So I was like, hey, this is awesome. And then somebody told me that all golf is based on how accurate you are from 0 to 100 yards. So I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. And my 6-year-old daughter hit a putt. We were on the putting green, just kind of messing around. She hit a putt. It had to have been 40 feet over a hill and just right into the hole. It was incredible. And it's not good though, because now she thinks she's a really good golfer. And I told her, no, honey,
she's a natural. She's a natural. Must get it from her mom.
Tiger Gon's daughter, samurai warrior princess. Anyway, I wouldn't wish that upon her.
The weather over the weekend was incredible. Was it great where you were?
Yeah, it was nice.
Is it finally
warm.
spring?
Yeah, it was spring.
Finally spring. Yeah. No, it's absolutely incredible. There was a little bit of an Easter surprise. Now, of course, I got the bunny farm here. I've got a couple of inside bunnies that have been adopted to live in the house. And, you know, I got nothing to lose. I let these bunnies run around the house loose occasionally. And I thought, you know, Easter, if there was any time to let the bunny run loose, that's the time. And jumped on the computer to get the show going, and was struck with a huge disaster, which was at least one of the bunnies completely chewed through my Ethernet cord.
Oh, that's right.
So I had no internet.
That's why we're late today.
Yeah, so a couple of hours delay there while I had to fix that problem, track down you got to keep an eye on these bunnies, man.
This bunny, you need to interrogate this bunny. I think he works for the CIA. He's sabotaging the operation over here. I would use maybe some waterboarding techniques and get some information out of this bunny of yours. You know, they use their cuteness to get in, and I don't know, man. I think you've been infiltrated.
Spy games. I've got the cutest spy game going on here. But luckily I tracked down an extra cord I had. It only took me 2 hours to do. So yeah, other than that, the weather was incredible. So got some sun on my skin, doing the Easter thing. It was wonderful. I hope everybody had a great time as well. And you know, Monday's even greater, Gons. I'm feeling like we're having a great time today because we have some executive producers to thank.
Yeah.
Executive producers.
That's right. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no corporate money whatsoever. Neither do we take government money. Look at that. Independent media producers, independent media around the world, they call themselves independent. But if they're taking corporate or government money, what exactly are they independent from? I don't know. That's a question for you, dear listener. But here, we take no corporate money whatsoever. No advertisements, no affiliate codes, no platform partnerships. We are entirely funded by people, human beings, who get value from the show. It's called value for value. If you receive value, you can put value back in because you want the show to exist. And if producers don't put in value, the show won't exist. It's just sort of seems to be how nature would have intended it, but not when corporate money gets involved. But there's ways to produce the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure, and the executive producers come in extra generous and honest with the value they receive and help us keep going, baby, and that's why we thank them here at the top of the show. Gons, I am going to give you a little bit of a warning here. We are going to do the meetup later on in this break.
Okay.
And we are also going to do some monthly people we're going to thank. So you can prepare that while I thank these executive producers. Ready?
No, not anymore.
Okay. Well, ready or not? Here
yes,
we go.
Ready.
I would like to thank executive producer Carter O.
Carter O, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Executive producer Carter O comes in with a nice round number, and I did not see a note. They're just executive producing and letting the system work. Thank you very much, executive producer Carter O.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you, Carter O.
Indeed. We've also got executive producer Jan S. is in the house.
Thank you, Jan.
Executive producer Jan S comes in with $111.11.
Plus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Little note here, cute little note. Hugs all around. Thank you very much, Jan.
Thank you. Hello, what are you doing?
It sounds like there's a baby in the studio.
She's not a baby. She's 6.
We've got a couple more executive producers. Great day for executive producership. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Great way to start the week. We've got executive producer Felicia D coming in.
Thank you, Felicia D. Appreciate you.
Yeah. No note, but thank you very much. Nice round number. And look at this name, Gons. We've got executive producer Sigger the Beast is back.
Hey, Sir Sigger the Beast, I believe.
There he is. That's right. Sir Sigger the Beast. Thank you very much. Sir Sigger the Beast comes in with a nice round number. And a note here that says, Happy Easter, gentlemen. May Jesus come back now. We really, really need him.
Amen.
That's right. Amen.
Did I give Felicia D the executive producer tag?
I don't remember.
Well, here it is.
Where'd you find this?
And this one's for Sir Sigger the Beast.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you to you both.
Thank you very, very much. And that concludes our list of executive producers. We'll have some more producers to thank later on. But I would like to take a second, Gons, because we do have an alert that there is a most important person in the world that needs to be thanked.
All right. I'm all ready for meetups, and you throw another curveball.
Yes, and you're so easy to work with too. You know, you got to stay nimble, stay positive. Yes, that's right. The Canary Cry T-shirt Council, folks. It's the most important people in the world who gather together to help decide the big questions, the sort of questions that us normal people cannot be trusted with. We don't even know what's best for us, but the Canary Cry T-shirt Council, they do. And we've got someone who just joined, so they will be on the council for the Q2. By the way, Canary Cry T-shirt Council members will be receiving these shirts as well as deciding what will be on them. And we have a new most important person in the world, and that is most important person in the world, Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat is back, baby. Back on the team. Thank you very much, Pizza Rat. Glad to see you back. Hope everything is well. And we appreciate your participation in the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. Remember, folks, you can join the Canary Cry T-shirt Council only if you like to make decisions and receive enormous rewards for those decisions. That's right. You'll get a T-shirt every quarter. Those are about to go out for the first quarter. And Gons, not only do we have the T-shirt council, we also have the Canary Cry supply drop.
Oh, supply drop. Yep.
Supply drop.
That's right. Producers keep this show going, and they put value back in when they receive it. And those who get value in the amount of $33.33 per month, and they sign up to produce the show in that amount, they are put on a list and they start receiving Made in America, producer-produced Canary Cry News Talk gear. It's there's been some incredible stuff has gone out so far, but we are just getting started, folks. As I mentioned last episode, we are very excited to announce that for the next 3 quarters of 2023, we will be manufacturing and distributing hard copy DVDs of the Age of Deceit films. Yes, the documentary that started it all. Chimerica, unraveling the mysteries of the New World Order and the spiritual game being played behind the scenes. Yes, it is a series of documentaries that is beloved by many. And we get so many questions about where people can get a hard copy, and they can't because they don't exist. But we're doing it. We're making it exist with the power, with the willpower, and with producer power. So in the quarters to come, the next quarter, the one after that, and the one after that, through the end of the year, we'll be manufacturing and distributing Age of Deceit 1, 2, and 3 in DVD form, sending it out with the supply drop. So if you want to join the network of human beings who are preserving this very important knowledge after the internet completely gets shut down or destroyed by an EMP or solar flare or something, we're gonna need hard copies. And you can be one of them by joining the Canary Cry Supply Drop. Go to canarycrysupply.com to sign up. And we got a couple people who signed up, Gons. You ready?
Yeah.
It's Pizza Rat, believe it or not. He's
hey,
back.
Pizza Rat.
He's coming in strong.
2 slices.
Thank you very much. That's 2 slices for Pizza Rat. Thank you very much. And we've also got our new supply dropper, Michelle K.
Michelle K. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michelle K. and Pizza Rat. Again, folks, go to canarycrysupply.com. Not only will you be participating in the Value for Value model, but you'll be receiving free gifts throughout the year, including the entire set of Age of Deceit. We're going to be working on some new covers, Gons, for your film. And I'm going to make sure that when these DVDs are on a shelf next to each other in the right order, there's a cool spine design so you can show off. You know, when they make a series of movies and you put them all next to each other on a shelf.
Oops, sorry. Sorry.
It creates
yes, I do.
an image.
I happen to have the first at least 36 books of the original Dragon Ball series going into Dragon Ball Z, and that entire thing, the cover makes a long sequence of characters and different things that happen throughout the many years of Dragon Ball. So yes, I am aware of the concept.
Exactly. I had that. It was a version of the Left Behind series of books.
Oh, okay.
You put them all next to each other.
I'm not supposed to.
You're hitting a lot of buttons?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, we should get on with the show because this is falling apart. So thank you very much to all of our producers. And one last thing, make sure to go to canarycrymeetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetup.
That's right. Canary Crime meetups. It's time, folks. It's time that you meet with other Canarians in your area. No matter where you are in the country and perhaps even the world, there are Canary Crime News Talk listeners near you. And what a better opportunity to meet them, make friends with them, make a plan for the end. Because when it all hits the fan, people are our most important resource. So I call it an apocalypse team sort of recruiting session, but also it's just good to socialize with other human beings. It's good for you. It's good for them. It's good for the community. And you can do this by going to meetups. If you go to canarycrimemeetups.com, you'll see some meetups there. And if you don't see one near you, just put one on yourself. Send us an email to canarycryradio@gmail.com and go ahead and tell us when and where, and we will tell the world. We'll put it on the website. We'll mention it on the show, and you can make some friends with other Canary Cry listeners in your area. But go to canarycrimeetups.com. Check it. I know we got Glen Rose, Texas. We've got
Houston, Texas, St. Augustine, Florida. Yep.
And all sorts of great stuff coming up. So go check it out and send us an email. Put one on yourself.
This is fun!
Okay.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world. Now, there's nothing we can do about it. Today's Flippy update is coming from AOL.com, which... Yes, dear listener, I did not know it still existed either. So we're learning this together. Now, AOL.com has a headline here, playing sport against robots. So last Flippy update, of course, we revisited sport robots. We had the giant flippy arm controlling the basketball hoop in order to decide who could score, who couldn't score, bringing equity back to the league. And now AOL says playing sport against robots makes human brain work harder. Research suggests.
I'm watching sports. Sports did good. Ooh, did the ball go?
The human brain works much harder when playing sport against robots, scientists have found. Researchers from the University of Florida analyzed dozens of hours of table tennis matches where humans were pitted against machines and each other. Players wore electrode caps so their brain activity could be monitored during the games. Scientists found that when playing against each other, the players' brains worked in unison. Quote, like they were all speaking the same language. But when the players faced a ball-serving machine, the neurons, nerve cells, in their brains were not aligned in the same way, a phenomenon known as desynchronization. Daniel Ferris, a professor of biomedical engineering at the University of Florida, said, quote, if we have 100,000 people in a football stadium and they're all cheering together, that's like synchronization in the brain, which is a sign the brain is relaxed. Quote, if we have those same 100 people, but they're all talking to their friends, they're busy, but they're not in sync. Okay. In a lot of cases, that desynchronization is an indication that the brain is doing a lot of calculations as opposed to sitting and idling. The researchers said their work, published in the journal eNeuro, shows that the brain works harder when playing against robots because machines do not provide any clues about what they're going to do next. Professor Ferris, who is one of the study authors, said, quote, humans interacting with robots is going to be different when they interact with other humans. Thank you, Professor Ferris.
I highlighted this in red because I thought, you know, Professor Ferris, he gets paid a lot of money to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
humans interacting with robots is going to be different when they interact with other humans.
I don't know if they can state a more obvious, or he can state a more obvious statement.
This science, baby. Yeah. Science. Quote, Our long-term goal is to try to understand how the brain reacts to these differences. The researchers said that as robots grow more common and sophisticated, understanding how the human brain responds to an opponent's moves could allow engineers to design robots to be more naturalistic. Okay. Amanda Studnicki, a graduate student at the University of Florida who is part of the research team, said, quote, "I still see a lot of value in practicing with a machine. Bleep, blah, bloop. I am human scientist graduate student Amanda Studnicki.
I'm for the robots.
Quote, but I think machines are going to evolve in the next 10 or 20 years, and we could see more naturalistic behaviors for players to practice against. The research is published in the journal eNeuro.
Yeah, that's why they're going to be more naturalistic. Yeah. Because we want to play sports against them. That's why we want more natural robots.
To practice against. I mean, first of all, if your brain does different, if you're a human who's going to play in a human sports league, if anything, they just proved that practicing against robots is sort of a useless endeavor and might actually even be debilitating to your ability to go against or practice against humans, or compete rather. So you know what they're going to have to do, Guns? They're just going to have to get rid of all the humans altogether. All right? It's the only way. It's the only way to make a fair and equitable sporting competition is to get rid of all the humans and let the robots do all the work.
I think we need to, you and I, we didn't talk about this last episode because we had that basketball hoop moving robot flippy arm.
Yes.
And we've talked about the Japanese robot that shoots 3-pointers and stuff like that. There's a bot sports war league right there. You just, create the league, do it, get ahead of it, put the website together, and then they come to us. They realize we've already laid the groundwork for the league, robot shooters versus robot arm hoops.
It's all there. It's all there. We don't need the humans at all. In fact, it seems stressful. The humans are stressed out by practicing against the robots.
There's a photo here of the guy wearing all the EEG stuff on his head.
Yeah, the electrodes.
Yeah, and it looks like he's just got like a little, I don't know, beanie or something, but obviously it's got all the electrodes inside and like 50 cables, more than that maybe, coming out of the back. Looks like hair. Into a backpack. And I mean, can they not do a ponytail or, some kind of more organized thing? Yeah. Maybe
cornrows with those electrodes.
Maybe he's nervous because he's, weighed down by all these wires. Anyway.
The thing that trips me out about this, I mean, the sports is one thing, but I mean, what they're really showing is like interacting with robots at all is creating desynchronization, because there's no difference in socializing with a robot. You're still doing the same things. You're trying to read body language. You're trying to predict actions. These are all things that you do in regular social settings anyways. So this idea of all these robots they're going to use for socializing with the elderly or students, children interacting with robots, babysitter robots, all these things. What they're really revealing here is when a human is interacting with a robot at all, that it's putting their brains in this weird desynchronized state, It seems like even socializing or coming in contact with a robot in almost any situation for a long period of time is sort of messing biologically with our brains. And that's just the first threat. That's number one, Guns. It doesn't matter how good of intentions these robots have. Their very existence is throwing us off.
Yep. Before we move on here to all the China stuff, I did see somebody come in with $33 on Rumble, but I'm seeing this timer thing, and it's going. Is that just because it's going to disappear on the screen, or is it like if you don't acknowledge this number?
Yeah, I think it's a timer thing. But we both wrote down the user. We were going to thank them.
Okay. Yes, we'll thank you.
A little bit. We're going to thank them in the production zone.
Sure. Okay.
But thank you. Oh, there's a note attached to it.
Yes, I wrote
Maybe
the note
I
down.
can grab the note. Okay.
Yeah, I already did that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Here we go.
Rumble, baby.
And rumors of wars.
Chinese news!
Chinese news.
It comes from China. China. It's not racist at all, no.
This is BBC.com, and the headline here, China-Taiwan aircraft carrier seals off island on third day of drills. And of course, the tensions in Taiwan have been increasing. This is another example of some military exercises, some drills. But we kind of know what is happening when there's drills. They call it a drill, but it's just slow progress here. It says China has finished 3 days of military drills around Taiwan, which included sealing off the island and simulating targeted strikes. Taiwan said it had detected jets to its east, while China said its Shandong aircraft carrier had taken part. Beijing began the exercise on Saturday after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen met the U.S. House Speaker in California. After the drills ended, Taiwan's defense ministry said it would not stop strengthening its combat preparedness. The drills have not been as big as those that followed Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei last August. So
it's an interesting detail.
Yeah, yeah, it's strange. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's not as big of a deal, but that's what they want you to think. Taiwan considers itself a sovereign state. China sees it as a breakaway province. Yada yada. We know about the tensions there. But this is, it did make me wonder because the strategic moves being made by China here, and sort of the excuse of drills to kind of progress their air agenda around China or around Taiwan. I am curious because we heard about World War III happening in 2027, I think was the memo leak or something, right? And 2027 is what, 3.5 years away, 4 years away?
Yeah. Well, that was when the generals got intelligence that Xi is preparing to invade Taiwan by 2027.
Right. So all that reported in the West, and I'm sure somebody had thought of this at the time when it was news, but what if that timeline of like, 2027, or I think the other one was it 2025? I forget. There was two different. There was like a leak, and then there was the military guys speaking out and mentioning a date. But either way, it was at least a couple of years out. And I'm wondering if that was sort of a misdirection, a way to make us more complacent and like, we got a few years till the war. Meanwhile, China is going to try to pull this thing off while Biden is in office because, 2024, you're kind of betting on 2024 to 2028. China might be betting on a second Biden presidency or another Democrat or whatever. The next 4 years, and that'll allow China to continue to do sort of a softer takeover of Taiwan. Whereas if Trump gets in, either way, if they don't do it yet and Trump's in, then it helps Trump. If they do take over, then Trump is, helped in the sense that, hey, we got to defend America. We've lost Taiwan kind of thing. So I don't know. It might be just a thought and nothing more, but it makes me wonder. I'm
not sure it's sort of revolving around helping or hurting Trump.
Well, not necessarily,
however,
not in a sense of doing it on purpose, but there's sort of push-pull there. They're kind of stuck, not stuck, but they have to choose. Are they going to play the short game and try to get it right away? And then, doesn't matter if Trump gets in after that, or are they going to bet on not getting Trump in to office in 2024 and that way extend the soft takeover?
Yeah, there's a lot there, Gons. I hear you. I think I'm a little bit more concerned as far as the timeline you're talking about. 2027, it seems, first of all, the intelligence referring to 2027 is horrifying in its own right.
Of course.
It's way too soon.
Yeah.
It also makes way too much sense. That's kind of the scary part. Right. It makes a lot of sense. And whether or not they're going to actually make moves earlier or not, we see with the actions regarding Ukraine, the kind of pull away from the fervor of the Ukraine operation. There's been, there's murmurings of finding a way to hand off the Ukraine or end the Ukraine situation in whatever way seems viable for everybody. That keeps seeming like a more and more of a possibility. And so while the U.S. is trying to transition out of Ukraine specifically to be ready for the Taiwan situation, much like the way the Ukraine situation was, as much as they love to say it wasn't provoked, the Biden administration seemed to have sort of preternatural ability to do the exact, take the exact actions to speed up that timeline. Of course, the U.S. has been doing exactly what caused Putin to make the move in the first place, and that's the expansion of NATO. Been doing it for a long, long time, and we're playing with the idea of letting Ukraine into NATO, and that's when Putin felt he had to make his move. Even if the official 2027 timing is, is legit, I have no doubt that the U.S. will continue to provoke these moves by China, because that's what this was. This was the response to the Kevin McCarthy visit. Mm-hmm. They said they were going to do it. I mean, first Pelosi, of course, we know the Pelosi story. They said, don't do it. We're going to do some nasty stuff if you do this. She said, neener, and she flew over there, and boom, they start launching missiles. They run these drills, and the exact same thing. We had the Taiwan president come visit California. They say, don't do it. We're going to be doing some nasty stuff if you do. And lo and behold, we go ahead and do it. Poke the bear, provoke the dragon, or whatever. So I think the 2027 in it is scary enough in its timeline, but I have no doubt that if anybody would have the ability to provoke China to up that timeline, it would be the Biden administration for sure. But I think the only thing that the only reason China has to put this off is to wait for the 2024 election. I think because if Trump does get in 2024, he's going to schmooze. He's going to be Xi's buddy. He's going to talk about how great he is. He's going to find a way. He's going to make a deal. He's going to do all the things. I think China wants Trump to win because, they'd have a easier way of getting their interests in Taiwan rather than actually having to do a full-scale war. But I think until the election, they're going to keep everybody guessing. These operations are not going to slow down.
It seems like China's setting up a win-win no matter what. Like that, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, who gets into office. But yeah, maybe the methods by which they make deals might be different, of course, and their aggression. But Biden is showing a lot of weakness for the U.S. internationally, so it just makes me wonder. And of course, Trump, it does help if China does do something much sooner before the 2024 elections. Then again, Trump can run on the idea that we lost Taiwan. We need to bring home chip manufacturing, develop the best manufacturing in America, blah blah, whatever he make America great again message he can lean on. So I guess either way, it's sort of the plot is sort of obvious in terms of direction. But there's something else. There's some context here with what's happening in the U.S. that was mentioned on the No Agenda episode. Last episode, they went deep into this Mao thing, and it was based on this woman named G. Van Fleet who appeared on NTD, which No Agenda likes to track, and it's kind of interesting that they're doing that. But this individual, G. Van Fleet, was also an author on an opinion piece for Fox News, and she has a headline here on Fox News. It's an op-ed. I survived Mao's regime. Now China is using TikTok to poison our kids. And, you know, she works for the 1776, I forget what it was, some group to protect, you know, constitutional rights and everything. But she writes here, I saw firsthand growing up in China during Mao's Cultural Revolution how ruthless the Communist Chinese Party was in its drive to reprogram the minds of young people in order to create political and social upheaval. Now their target is American children using TikTok. And I'd argue they've already kind of done that. But over the past few years, parents and students have loudly opposed schools' agenda of pushing to our children Marxism-inspired ideologies like critical race theory and critical queer theory. I have warned repeatedly that leftists in the U.S. are using the same tactics I witnessed as a schoolgirl in Mao's China. The goal is to divide our children by race and to confuse our children by telling them there is no such thing as objective truth. And it goes into a lot of detail here. We're not going to go through everything. It talks about the TikTok CEO testifying. And, you know, she's talking about TikTok here. In the Chinese version called Douyin, young users under 14 are limited to 40 minutes per day and shown specially selected educational content. Meanwhile, American youth are bombarded with endless, hypersexualized content and dangerous, even deadly viral quote-unquote challenges. I think this speaks to remember the button that we reported on, the anything can go viral button?
The viral button. It's
interesting how, according to this lady here, you know, China has their own version of the app, but they're sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not maintaining, but nourishing a generation with, you know, limiting their time and showing them educational content. Whereas in America, they're like, hey, have at it, you know, just dwell in your sins, America, kind of thing. It's very interesting. It's very tactical. TikTok has become a haven for the progressive left to push Marxist racial gender ideologies. Woke activists, including teachers, use the platform to openly perpetuate racial discord, normalize the sexualization of children, and attack nuclear families by encouraging kids who identify as transgender to cut their parents out of their lives for not being affirming enough. And I think it's interesting that there's a Mao flavor to all this. She even says here, TikTok is the CCP's gift to the left to tear down our traditional values, our institutions, and our families. Through TikTok, the CCP is waging psychological warfare on the United States. Interesting that Fox News is allowing for someone to publish those words, that a psychological warfare is actually being waged on the U.S., which goes to show
that's part, yeah.
One more thing.
Part of the twisted aspect of the Restrict Act, where the Restrict Act is taking, and it drives me nuts. You hear our Congress people and our politicians keep screaming about the data with TikTok, and they keep missing the point that it's not about the data necessarily. Your data will get scooped up no matter what. It's the soft power that China has over an entire generation.
And here's what she continues here, and then I have a clip and then some more resources. I lived through Mao's horrific program of destruction in China called the Great Cultural Revolution. I watched as Mao's regime eviscerated the 3,000-year-old Chinese civilization and indoctrinated young people into Maoist robots who had loyalty to no one but Mao and who were willing to do anything in defense of Mao. That includes turning in their own parents. Interesting. You know, and I don't think we've seen that fervor, maybe with Obama, something like that. But I think it's interesting that some of what she's describing here does sound like kind of a Trump Republican MAGA thing. You know, a lot of people very adamant about defending Trump and his position of authority in the United States. So not that I'm saying Trump is, you know, comparable to Mao. I'm just saying in the context of this description. So here's a clip of her talking about some of this stuff. And then I got some more resources.
When I read the news, I was like, I was in this.
Let me give you some context. Sorry, I should have done this a little bit better here. Basically, she's talking about how the Virginia Democrats oppose a bill to teach history, the history of communism in education. And so, the Democrats don't necessarily want communism to be taught, and her logical extraction here.
When I read the news, I was like, I was in disbelief and I was angry. How could this Democrat legislators and the union, teachers union, come to this kind of absurd and disturbing conclusion? The only thing I can think about is they are profoundly ignorant of real history and the history of communism, and they themselves are communists. And I believe it's both. The reason that so many people do not recognize wokeness as Marxism, as communism, is because they do not know what real communism is. And I think we have to teach American people in general the danger of communism and the threat that poses to America.
Communism is the very definition of failure.
Yeah. So there you go. From someone who lived through it, and specifically the transgender and gender disassociation or dysphoria type of stuff being played with or being used as sort of the tipping point. So one of the things, the rabbit trails here that I went down, again, no agenda, Adam and John over there, cited how the Epoch Times, back in 2019 was this article, or 2020, January of 2020, this article was published. Speech by Chinese general given 2 decades ago finds new relevance today. And according to the resources here with J.R. Nyquist, who wrote this article for Epoch Times, there was a speech that was leaked to Epoch Times back in 2005, I believe, of a 2003 speech. And it was of the defense minister of China, Qi Haoshan, and they laid out how they're going to take over the U.S. And, part of me is thinking, did they allow this leak to, as sort of a psyop for the other side kind of thing, to give the narrative and talking points of the alternative media and for the right wing and all this kind of stuff, because it does play a lot into what the fears of China takeover are, and what Trump's talked about a lot over the years about China and things of that nature. But so there's that Epoch Times article, but I just wanted to go straight to the actual speech, which was published on the J.R. Nyquist blog, which is the author of that article. He published this on September 11th, 2019. Interesting date, September 11th. And he says here, in 2005, the Epoch Times acquired a secret speech given by Defense Minister Qi Haoshan to high-level Communist Party cadres sometime before his retirement in 2003. Details given in Qi's speech coincide with previously unpublished defector testimony of Sino-Russian military plans. The speech follows, and it goes into the speech. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just want to mention that it starts off with the guy talking about a large-scale online survey that they did at China.com. And they asked the question on this survey, will you shoot a woman or shoot at women, children, and prisoners of war? It says more than 80% of the respondents answered in the affirmative, exceeding by far our expectations. So 80% of people said, yeah, well, we would shoot women, children, and prisoners of war. And they go on to say, this person goes on to say that this was actually a probe of the mind. This is not our genuine intention, to kill a bunch of people that are prisoners of war. The purpose of the CCP Central Committee in conducting this survey is to probe people's minds. We wanted to know if China's global development will necessitate massive deaths in enemy countries. Will our people endorse that scenario? Will they be for or against it? And I'm thinking, wow, they just totally decided what to do based on a survey, huh? Interesting. And then they go on here. They talk about all the different layers of takeover. A lot of Hitler comparisons that are, I don't know. I don't think I can understand why maybe this wasn't public, or at least officially, until some kind of leak or some kind of whatever it was. They talk about Hitler here. Hitler's Germany had once bragged that the German race was the most superior race on earth. But the fact is, our nation is far superior to the Germans. Like, whoa, that's pretty. I don't think that's am I missing some kind of cultural Chinese thing? Or is it like straight Chinese racism? It's like, hey, we're better than Germans thought they were the best. We're better than the Germans. So we're the best. I don't know. Maybe there's
from what I know, that's a pretty classic Chinese mindset.
Sure. This is a very long speech, so I'm not going to read all of it. There's more here. It talks about the living space The term living space is too closely related to Nazi Germany. The reason we don't want to discuss this too openly is to avoid the West's association of us with Nazi Germany, which could in turn reinforce the view that China is a threat. Therefore, in our emphasis on Heisen's new theory, human rights are just living rights. We only talk about living, but not space, so as to avoid the term living space. And they get into some different ways to solve all these problems. They talk about Mao's 3 treasures of takeover. And really the kicker here, and the reason why I'm kind of showing you all this, there's a part here, again, very, very long speech. There's a very fascinating part of the speech that he gets into here. Here it is. Only by using special means to, quote unquote, clean up America will we be able to lead the Chinese people there. There is only choice. This is the only choice left for us. This is not a matter of whether we are willing to do it or not. What kind of special means is there available for us to clean up America? Conventional weapons such as fighters, cannons, missiles, and battleships won't do. Neither will highly destructive weapons such as nuclear weapons. We are not as foolish as to want to perish together with America by using nuclear weapons, despite the fact that we have been exclaiming that we will have the Taiwan issue resolved at whatever cost. This is back in 2003. Only by using non-destructive weapons that can kill many people will we be able to reserve America for ourselves. Let me read that again. Only by using non-destructive weapons that can kill many people will we be able to reserve America for ourselves. There has been rapid development in modern biological technology, and new bioweapons have been invented one after another. Of course, we have not been idle. In the past years, we've seized the opportunity to master weapons of this kind. We are capable of achieving our purpose of, quote-unquote, cleaning up America all of the sudden. When Comrade Xiaoping was still with us, the Party Central Committee had the perspicacity, am I saying that right? That's the word that I had trouble with before.
It's like lucidity or clarity.
Right. To make the right decision not to develop aircraft carrier groups and focus instead on developing lethal weapons that can eliminate mass populations of the enemy country. Biological weapons are unprecedented in their ruthlessness, but if the Americans do not die, then the Chinese have to die. If the Chinese people are strapped to the present land, the total societal collapse is bound to take place. So their whole CCP strategy and propaganda to their people was, hey, China's growing. We're one of the biggest populations in the world. We don't have enough room in China. If we do not expand beyond the borders of China, we will die. And so you must go out. And this really spurred a generation of people. And I remember this. Living in Orange County, I remember a bunch of, all of a sudden, certain neighborhoods just became Chinese. It was just a normal mixed, whatever, or middle class, white kind of neighborhoods in California, Orange County. All of a sudden, it would just be taken over. Just everyone's Chinese. It was like, what in the world? Within like a year. And so this, I saw it firsthand, this sort of externalization of the hierarchy of the Chinese sort of, it's interesting because these normal Chinese citizens coming to America to do business or, to live life, whatever, are almost like unofficial secret agents. In the masses, not like 1 or 2 007 type of stuff. And I'm sure they've had that too, but more so like an entire generation of people to come over. And they're all sort of fighting for China's expansion, which is very fascinating to me. And in that way, this sort of soft takeover, again, this is 2003, talking about biological weapons and all this kind of stuff. Man, they really did pull it off in the US. And we're seeing all that stuff being ignored for 2 decades. We're seeing the consequences of that now. And that's in the whole movement economically away from the US dollar, with China making deals everywhere and, the Silken Road and all the stuff we've been covering. And it's just interesting to me to find, and maybe people were aware of this document before. I mean, I didn't know about this particular speech. So looking at the speech and reading it, it was like, oh yeah, of course, this makes a whole lot of sense. And what's fascinating is that it's very much in line with some of the ideologies of the whole sustainable development agenda, for example, the UN stuff. They talk about, just having a way to, the soft takeover and having a way to do so to carry on the revolution to the end, exactly what Chairman Mao had gave the marching orders to China. And so, yeah, it's a generational thing. And It's very powerful, and it has taken over a lot of this country. And so,
well,
any thoughts?
It reminds me of that KGB guy who came out and revealed Russia's plan, decades-long plan to corrupt America, and it had a lot of very similar stuff. This guy had come out and talked about during the Cold War Russia's plans to take down America, and they're very similar to the Chinese speech that you just talked about, because of the U.S.'s military hard power. Both of our biggest adversaries in the world knew that, you can't defeat the U.S. in hard power, but the U.S. has a very special weakness when it comes to soft power. And they consider democracy to be part of that weakness. It is it's the difference between, power of the people and power to the tyrannical dictator type of thing. And they're not wrong, and both Russia, the KGB plan, and this plan from 2005 you're talking about here, they revolve around soft power. The corruption of the American culture is
you cut out.
And so when we have conversations, whether it's in public or in private, about the corruption of culture and how everything's going down the drain, and why is this and who's responsible for this, it's interesting because in a way the whole system is responsible. We are responsible for the ability of outside forces to corrupt the culture to the point where it becomes a national security concern. And the Russians and the Chinese both recognize this, that it is the form of democracy itself that puts the country in this very specific type of risk. Now, democracy does protect against all sorts of other risks, but as far as the ability for outside forces to influence at a very core level the culture of everyday American life, that's a very uniquely democratic experience, a very deeply, it's like a flaw built into the system. And both the Russians and the Chinese knew in both of these cases that all you really needed was time. With time and money, you got to have a long-term plan. And both Russia and China have been executing a very long-term plan for soft power in the United States. And we are seeing, I think now we're at the point where the evidence is so clear, where you can see the alignment between very specifically Maoist revolutionary propaganda and what is considered, being a good person in the U.S.
The morality, the hijacking of the moral conversation.
Right. The moral compass, the national moral compass is pointed in the same direction as the Maoist revolution. And it didn't happen fast. It happened very slowly, and it happened in different stages. But now, but you just got to look around you and look on the internet that it is not necessarily lost. The battle is not necessarily lost. I would say, let's put it at 50-50 of the country who are vehemently opposed to the sort of cultural changes, and the other 50, if not being radically in favor of the current cultural phenomenon, at least passively in favor, because they want to be a good person. They want to, or they at least want to seem like a good person, and they don't want to get, yelled at by somebody with pink hair. So there is still hope. It's not totally lost, but it is not an easy battle. That's why soft power, which really has been the U.S.'s most powerful weapon in the control that we have exerted over the world, it is soft power. Hard power can only get you so far. And that speech from the Chinese guy you just read shows the power of soft power is that you can destroy a country without destroying its assets or its resources.
Right.
And you can move in, just like the guy said. So that's very interesting.
To put a bow on all this, I have a journal from Sage Journals. Back in 2017, there was a paper that was published, Annihilation of Femininity in Mao's China, Gender Inequality of Sent Down Youth During the Cultural Revolution. And I'm just going to read a little bit of the abstract here. I've not read the study, but just for the summary here, I thought it was interesting. During the Chinese Cultural Revolution, Mao's famous political slogan, "The times have changed, men and women are the same," asserted that men and women were equal in political consciousness and physical strength. However, the slogan's seeming emphasis on gender equality misconstrued the concept of equality and sameness. Sound familiar? In-depth interviews from former sent-down youth illustrate how state rhetoric appropriated a discourse of women's equality to silence women and depoliticized gender as a political category. For urban sent-down youth, gender inequality was absent from public discourse, and conflict between the sexes was concealed by a state discourse that constructed class struggle as paramount. Gender as a category was credited with solely political and pragmatic meaning and was utilized as a means for the communist government to achieve its own political and cultural utopia. So we have this weaponization of gender, of sex, and politics. Exactly what we have here. It's just surprising to me that not more people are pointing it out. I guess people are pointing it out, but it's sort of like showing the actual stuff here. Yes. I'm sorry. I am parenting as I do this show here, and it's frustrating me to no end. But continue.
You're doing a great job. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's especially considering the shift in the importance of America's attention from Eastern Europe to the Eastern Hemisphere, and the flip-flop that we've seen over the past, I'd say specifically 5 years politically in this country, where the same people right now who are identifying the risks that China poses are the people who sort of blindly would blindly accept more and more participation by the Chinese Communist Party in our economy, in our media, in our government. And it's just that something flipped. The switch flipped, the timing flipped, they hit the phase in the plan. It's time to switch it up. And it's not going very well, I don't think.
Yeah.
With that, Gons, I think we should take a second, if you're good to keep moving on. I do want to say real quick, for those who are watching live, if you would take a second, just hit that thumbs up button. We might take a little break here in a second, and you might go take a potty break or something, or just go find something else to do. Before you do, don't leave the stream without hitting the thumbs up button, no matter where you are, whether you're on YouTube or Rumble or wherever. That helps us out quite a bit. We appreciate it. And with that, I have no idea if Gons is even here, but we're going to try to transition into party time.
Go to canarycry.party, put it in your URL. There you will find a tree of links to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, how to connect with us and the community.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So stay. Welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay Canary Cry.
Gosh. Ow.
Party.
Ugh.
That's right, folks. Go check it out. Go join our text message alert system and the newsletter. You can do both of those things at canarycry.party. You'll also find links to the supply drop and the Canary Cry T-shirt council there as well. If you're looking to get the hard copies of all the Age of Deceit films, go sign up for the supply drop there at canarycry.party. And with that, let's thank some producers.
It's break time!
That's right, folks. Taking a quick break because we're on the value for value model, and we don't have any corporations to thank because we take no corporate money. We're on the value for value system, which is a paradigm shift in each and every one of our listeners' minds to hold themselves responsible for the existence of media that they find valuable in their life. If you don't find this show valuable, then don't even worry about it. If you don't find it valuable, you're probably not here, or you'll probably leave any second now. But if this show does bring any value to your life, consider becoming a producer. And that's you can do that with your time, your talent, or your treasure. There's a lot of different ways to participate in keeping this show alive. And truly, this show would not exist if it were not for listeners like you participating in whatever way makes sense for them to keep the show going. But we're going to thank some financial producers who are keeping this show going today. If you want to become a financial producer, you can go to canarycry.support. You can also find links there at canarycry.party. And consider joining either the Supply Drop or the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. You get free gifts throughout the year for those two things, and it really goes a long way to keeping us alive. So we appreciate that. But Guns, we already thanked our executive producers, Carter O, Jan S, Felicia D, and Sigurd the Beast earlier on.
Yep.
And we thanked our Supply Drop producers and our T-shirt Council producers. We thanked them as well. And but we got some one-time producers coming in to support this show for this episode.
Yep.
Thank them now. Starting with producer Marita R.
Marita R. Thank you very much.
Marita R is back. Thank you, producer Marita. Comes in with $40 and 11 cents. And a note here. Hey, guys, I tagged on the 11 cents on the amount today to remind those of us who are celebrating the week of unleavened bread that we can't have any 11 until Thursday. Yes, Gons, you can use that as a dad joke if you want. Blessings. Thank you very much, Marita.
Thank you, Marita.
Appreciate that.
I'll be trying that one out at home later on.
Yeah. Let us know how it goes.
Okay.
Next up, I want to thank the producer who came in on Rumble earlier on in the show, and that is producer VBSBTZ.
Are you sure it's VB? I thought it was VV.
No, it's VV. VVSBTZ.
There we go.
Thank you very much for that. Came in with $33.30. $33. That's right.
Thank you very much.
And they sent a little note with it. Says, great work fighting against the great work. Very good. Very funny.
Thank you.
Thank you, VVSBTZ. Next up, we got producer Jacob B. He's back and he's on a streak.
Jacob B. Streak. Thank you.
2 episodes in a row here, 11-11, and he sent a note.
11-11.
11-11.
All right.
The Nephilim penguin tattoo is indeed going on me.
Ooh.
Okay, so this is the Nephilim penguin tattoo guy. We did not receive any art over the weekend, Guns. I wonder if he's received any. But here's the thing, folks. We got a Nephilim penguin tattoo. It is going on a human body. So we need creative ideas, artist sketches. I'm talking to you artists out there, past and present. Nephilim penguin tattoo call out. He has an email that's nephilimpenguintattoo@yahoo.com that you can send it to. But I'm also going to say send it to us. If you send it to us, we will send it to Jacob as well. Or you can upload it at canarycry.party. But the note continues. The Nephilim penguin tattooed is indeed going on me. Current real estate prospect is my upper right arm, as low as a few inches below my elbow and as high as my shoulder. That's a lot of real estate. That is a lot of real estate. All right, Canary Cry artists, producers, come up with some ideas for Nephilim penguin tattoos. You can send them to nephilimpenguintattoo@yahoo.com or canarycryradio@gmail.com or upload it to canarycry.art. Do those things.
We do have the classic Dove episode 409 Nephilim penguin that he drew back in November of 2021 is when he published
We
this.
have Yeah, well, and Sir Salmon's drew some
Sir Salmon's
Nephilim
drew one,
penguins.
yeah.
We've got a number in the archives. We can take a look around.
Yeah.
But we need some new stuff. He needs his. He needs a custom piece.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jacob B.
Thank you, Jacob B.
Next up, we've got producer Morgan E, who's on a 15-episode streak.
Morgan E.
Rocket Man. Burning out his fuse out here alone.
Yeah, Morgan E's Rocket Man.
Thank you very much, Morgan E. Next up, we got Sir Moore of Night of the Burning Chariots. Came in with 1111, 215 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Thank you.
Streakalicious.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sir Moore. Next up, we have Cassius B. Cassius B comes in with 1111.
Hey.
1111. And a note here that says, hey, Basil and Gons. Finally, dramatic pause. Finally, I am not a moocher. Oh, Gons, you know what that means. It's time for a de-mooching. You've done it. You've done it, producer Cassius B. Thank you so much. You are now officially and henceforth known as a de-moocher. No longer a moocher. We appreciate that. Yeah. First time producing the show. It's an exciting day. The note continues. I don't know it's taken me this long. I'm assuming why. I don't know why it's taken me this long. But here I am. I want to thank you all for blessing my life with the hard work you give the community. Much love to both of y'all. Well, much love back to you, Cassius.
Yeah,
thank you very
Cassius.
much.
Appreciate you.
Indeed. Next up, we've got producer Isaac G coming in, pocket full of sevens, 4 episodes in a row.
Hey, that's thank you, Sir Isaac.
And then, of course, Sir LX Protocol V2 now to the Berean Protocol, pocket full of sevens, 157 episodes in a row.
157. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. And I believe that is it. That concludes our list of financial producers who came in the amount of 777 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. But we got some people came in under that amount. We're going to thank them now.
All right.
Here's those coming under the 777 cutoff, starting with producer Ted P.
Thank you, Ted.
Who joined the Patreon.
Hey, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ted. We have Dame Gail, Canary Whisper, and Lady of X's and O's, 245 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Dame Gail.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 283 episodes in a row.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight, eyeing in on that 300.
Veronica D, 245.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Doctor Who Done That, 46.
Thank you, Doctor Who Done That.
Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 272.
Thank you, Sir Scott, Knight of Truth.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Women rule.
Indeed. Yep. All right. Well, that's it, folks. Remember, you can produce the show in all sorts of ways, but go ahead and head on over to canarycryradio.com/support or canarycry.support to keep this show alive. And thank you for your patronage.
Canarycry.support. Take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
We're doing Trump?
Okay. We're doing a little bit of Trump real quick.
We will launch a new age. I am
innocent. Innocent.
They're coming after me.
No, it's not about the indictment. No. It's even better. We've been following the
that jingle.
Release.
That jingle has multiple applications. It's amazing.
It's perfect. I know. Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death, the guy that Lord of War with Nicolas Cage was based after. There was a prisoner trade. We gave him back. He's on the loose. He's excited about the war in Ukraine.
Oh, this is the Brittany Griner trade.
It was the Brittany Griner trade, yes. Notorious arms dealer. And, of course, he is very excited to be shipped off back to his homeland. But even better, during a conflict that, surprise, surprise, a conflict where a bunch of the weapons have been disappearing. So I wonder what's going on there. But dailymail.co.uk has a headline here. Merchant of Death, Victor Bout, urges Trump to seek asylum in Russia because his life is in danger, all caps, from government threats and the Stormy Daniels probe.
I immediately think this is a trap. Come to Russia? Come hide in Russia? Come on.
This is genius. This is a genius move on somebody. I don't know exactly who's responsible. But yes, nothing better than having maybe the world's most prolific illegal arms dealer telling the former president of the United States to move to Russia for asylum.
They protect you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is has the makings of maybe the most interesting story in the world. Former merchant of death, arms dealer.
Of death. Interesting typo there.
Of death. Former merchant of death, arms dealer Victor Bout has issued a bizarre warning to former President Donald Trump, saying his life is in danger. Bout, who is back in Russia thanks to a prisoner swap negotiated by the Biden administration for U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner, said he sent a telegram to Trump with the warning following the former president's arrest and arraignment in Manhattan this week. Oh, he's got Trump's telegram number. Sure, I'm sure that went straight to the big man himself.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Quote, first and foremost, I consider that his life is in danger and that the legal process, which has now begun in New York, won't end in Donald Trump being convicted and barred from the election. Okay, most likely he will simply be eliminated there. Oh,
very Russian. Very Russian.
Got some, yes, the Russian influence.
Be eliminated.
You do not go. You're a political man. You're a politician. You go to jail. They kill you. No, this is how we do it in my country. Okay? America, no different. You're a politician. You go to prison. They kill you. It doesn't matter. Bout, who served 14 years in prison in the U.S. before his release in the swap, got at least one thing wrong about the U.S. legal system.
At least one, huh?
Brilliant journalism.
Great.
Trump, even if convicted of filing false business records related to Stormy Daniels' payoff, would not be barred from running for president. And this is the fun part of the article. Okay, I think they wrote this whole thing just to talk about this. He didn't provide further evidence that Trump would be eliminated. Quote, "You will be welcome in Russia. You will have safe haven," he wrote, according to the document he shared. He even adopted some of Trump's own language, referring to an evil swamp that had taken over. Bout, who was played by actor Nicolas Cage in Lord of War. No, they cannot write a story about this guy.
This is Nicolas Cage, PR guy, calling up somebody. Hey, we need a little Nick Cage action in the news. We need something. Bring up Bout. Unleash Bout.
Made the claim on Russian state television, as Newsweek reported, at a time of high tensions with Washington. Bout made an unusual offer to invite Trump to Russia. Trump was investigated by former special counsel Robert Mueller for his and his campaign's Russia ties. Trump continues to inveigh against the probe he calls Russia, including after his arrest in New York this week. Then they put just like 20 just of the most insanely relevant pictures in a row. There's one of Stormy Daniels, looking all
Alvin
Stormy
Bragg.
Daniels, Alvin Bragg. And then, so apparently the Victor Bout had like a printout of the message that he sent on Telegram to Trump. So that's fun.
Is that a receipt? It's like a small, it doesn't look like a full piece of paper. Or
It's
paper's
Russia. That's how
thinner
they
in
do
Russia?
Telegram over there. Telegram it's the manual version. It's an actual telegram.
At least
not the app. He sent a literal telegram to
He
Trump.
wrote in all caps, too.
Yeah.
way
Well,
to get
that's
his
what you
attention.
do on Telegram.
Yeah.
I think most of the social media platform Telegram is done in all caps, to be fair. Quote, therefore, this is what Bout saying this, quote, therefore, I think it is the best interest of all humanity and primarily all of the American people to invite Donald Trump here to Russia, to give him security and protection here so that he leads his uprising against the globalists and most importantly, does not allow the elimination of the American people.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. If he's supposed to protect the elimination of American people by running away to Russia,
yeah,
come on, guy, you know better than that.
How Trump saves America is by running to Russia to lead his uprising against the globalists. Now, this is something that cannot be sort of understated. Victor Bout is more or less a hero, a national hero in Russia, if not before, at least after the trade getting brought back home. There's enormous, stupendous, fanfare about him coming back. But keep in mind, he is an illegal arms dealer, national hero, Victor Bout. So for him to be making statements, this isn't just, crazy boomer, crazy Russian boomer saying stuff online. No, he went on television to talk about his invitation to bring Donald Trump to Russia to fight, to lead the uprising against the globalists, and most importantly, does not allow the elimination of the American people. It is mind-bending, the sort of cultural differences by which Americans will be reading this article, and I think the way it was intended in Russia. The news came on a day that Wall Street Journal reported Evan Gershkovich was formally charged with espionage in Moscow. Yeah, that's the American journalist who got arrested the other day. The paper and U.S. officials have said emphatically that the charges are false. We don't care. We don't care about that guy. So get more Victor Bout stuff talking about the globalists.
It gets into other stuff.
It gets into, this is when Daily Mail gets into stuff. So, this is a good look, I think. I think this is going to be great for Trump.
Oh, man.
I love how they mention the Mueller report.
Yeah.
But they also don't mention that the Mueller report found nothing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say Robert Mueller investigated the Russian connection with the Trump campaign and found nothing, and Trump, got away and was vindicated and everything's fine. But they kind of leave that part out to build this beautiful narrative about a criminal arms dealer who was traded by Biden, by the way. So it's interesting. The reason Victor Bout is free is because of the Biden administration's sort of obsession with freeing Brittany Griner. Which, I mean, the trade was always just really...
A little lopsided, I would say. But
it's just the craziest thing. But then to have the guy... Now, okay, so this fits into my Victor Bout theory. For those who may have missed the theory before, the theory is, in order to create a win-win for call them the deep state if you want, the win-win is for Ukraine war to never end. But the problem is we can't go to war with Russia and we can't have American boots. So what needs to happen is there needs to be peace, but you need a non-state actor. That's how we did it in the Middle East. You had Osama bin Laden, a non-state actor, and therefore you could have your military actions without actually formally declaring war. So I am still convinced that Victor Bout, and I think this Trump connection, it makes it even more certain that Victor Bout is the guy who will become the non-state actor who will wage some sort of non-state war in the Donbass region to keep the war in Ukraine going. However, that will let the U.S. keep the tensions up while officially putting American resources towards the war in China or the war over Taiwan. It's the only thing that makes sense. And when this finally comes true, I'm going to rub it in everybody's faces. Take that, Alex Jones.
Yeah. All right. Going big, swinging hard.
And Trump is going to go fight the globalists with Victor Bout in Russia.
So you think he was sent as a trade as, hey, you're back in Russia,
it was on purpose.
Or you think he's sort of MK Ultra controlled?
No,
opposition.
I think the deepest of the deep state had this planned out, and they know the only way to create a win-win for them in Ukraine is you got to bring in the non-state actor thing.
Yeah.
And who would be more perfect for a non-state actor, evil villain, Osama bin Laden style, than Victor Bout? He's already got a movie about him. It's incredible.
And it's Nicolas Cage PR move every single time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which if Hollywood is owned by China, then this is one big China move too.
I would love a movie where Nicolas Cage plays Osama bin Laden. They could do a similar movie than they did with Lord of War, because Osama bin Laden, his history goes way back. He's like the son
CIA
of a
payroll
rich guy.
Yeah.
You're right. He fought the Russians in Afghanistan on behalf of the CIA and did the whole thing. It is a perfect story. And Nicolas Cage needs to play Osama bin Laden. That is the last thing he needs to do before he dies.
Great. But maybe the unforeseen future here is cyborg politicians.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Are you ready, Basil? I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're going to keep up with guys
Can't
like
take it anymore.
Len Noah. This is Evening Standard UK, and the headline here: the cyborg hacker who can infiltrate your phone or office by waving his hand. Periodically we cover the stories about these people who have microchips in their bodies and things of that nature. But it's sort of becoming more, normalized in one sense. But there's a few things to take away from this article that I wanted to bring to you. So the article says this: a new style of agile hackers can today stash powerful tools of their trade within their own skin and deploy them at will around town. This sounds like science fiction, but it's a fact of modern life and will become the modus operandi of the spies or thieves who are already among us. Basil, maybe Victor Bout is already a cyborg. Don't ever let Victor Bout borrow your cell phone. You'll know.
Oh, yeah.
Even weirder is that
sell some weapons to China.
Even weirder is that thousands of everyday people already have simpler versions of these types of chips embedded into their arm. Oh, did I skip a paragraph? No, I didn't. Into their arms to avoid carrying keys or vaccine passports. Thought that was a conspiracy theory that people are carrying vaccine passports. But here you go. Len Noah is a man on a mission to prove this is reality. Len, who works as an ethical hacker at U.S. security firm CyberArk, has undergone multiple surgeries to have 8 specialist security chips implanted into his body. This is partly due to a fascination with becoming part machine, but mostly to demonstrate how these can be deployed in the wild. He was certainly able to demonstrate some startling offensive capabilities when I met up with him in London. If you hand Len your phone, for instance, by asking to make a quick emergency call, he can use the NFC chip, the near field communication chip, that is inside the back of his hand to instantly pull up a website, website injected with what is known as BEEF, the Browser Exploitation Framework. This will rapidly install some malicious code on your phone, giving him complete access to it. Almost all modern smartphones have an NFC chip, which is the underlying tech that allows contactless apps such as Google Pay and Apple Pay to work. In my case, Len was able to take control of the phone in less than 30 seconds. Thankfully, iPhones are currently invulnerable to this as they use a different type of chip, but Android owners are susceptible to cyborg attacks. If you own an Android, never hand your phone to a cyborg, because just by holding the phone, they can hack it. Yeah. Though this sort of hack is not something that the average Londoner needs to worry about yet, Len does think that they could be used for targeted attacks by government agencies like MI5 or by large hacking groups such as Cozy Bear. This is the clear direction of travel. But phones are merely one weak point. How about waltzing through security barriers? Len can easily copy a corporate keycard into the NFC chip in his hand. Once copied, he claims he can walk into your office building with nothing but the back of his hand as authentication. If caught, he can't even be held liable for forging a keycard. Though security could tell him to get off the premises immediately, it's improbable they'd suspect anyone of using an implanted chip. Even if they did, Len highlighted US and UK data protection laws, which give citizens the right to medical privacy, meaning you don't have to disclose devices inside of your own body.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's interesting. It's almost like the PSYOP here of, hey, yeah, you can have your privacy, but unleashes all the biohacked hackers, and they will start hacking you. This is why we want transparency, folks. This is why make sure your genetics and your, all your implants are public and transparent. Otherwise, these hackers can get you. And they have this photo, of course, of a guy kind of showing his large, $50 sized microchip in his right hand, like right on the top of his hand there. Pretty gross. Kind of nasty.
Yeah, it doesn't look very comfortable.
No, doesn't look good. Here's some more about this guy, though. I thought this was interesting. And it goes right into the idea of reenchantment, the idea of transhumanism and sort of the extended perceptions that transhumanism will bring. The self-proclaimed biohacker has plenty of fun with his implants. He enjoys laughing at confused passerby after they see him paying a vending machine using nothing but his hand. By using the magnetic chip implanted near his thumb, he can float magnets around as if by magic. This is his go-to bar trick and apparently a great way to entertain children. But this too has some pretty scary capabilities in expert hands. Quote, what I have is called a biosensing magnet. It's an iron core that is tightly wrapped in titanium, he explains. Quote, when I get close to a magnetic field, I actually feel tingly around my hand. End quote. This means he can trace electrical wiring with his hands by running it over walls. Quote, if I'm on the outside of your building and I know you're using a magnetic lock, I can actually trace the electrical circuits and I can potentially make a small hole, pull the wires through, and then I can splice in using alligator clips, a separate positive lead. I can then get the magnet to stop working and walk right through your door. And then it talks about a little bit of the risks that come with something like that. Your body can become susceptible to what is known as skimmers, contactless NFC-based transfers, which can drain your bank account. So you don't want that to happen. Using these skimmers, inexpensive cloning devices with names such as the Flipper or a Proxmark, you can theoretically clone someone's credit card off their hand as they sleep. Not leaving anything by chance, Len often wears a specially made set of gloves made from what's called Faraday fabric. This is like the real deal, this guy. Which protect him from electronic transmission of any kind. Yep. And, goes into a couple other things here about the vaccine. It's not just hackers who are having these types of chips inserted under their skin. Talks about the Swedish company. 600 people are said to have had their vaccine passports implanted into a hand, and many startups pay for employees to have chips implanted as a replacement for an office key fob. So, let's see. And there's more. There's another picture of the guy. I mean, looks kind of creepy. Really embracing the whole thing here. He wants to implant a Raspberry Pi in his thigh next. I mean, this guy's really going for it. Yeah, there was one. I thought there was one more part here. Did they get rid of it? Huh.
This might be one of the first articles about biohacking, or it's not even really biohacking, but it's cyborgism, which we've been following for many years now. This might be one of the first articles about a cyborgist who that it isn't like that negative. Like there's really nothing. You don't really say anything too negative in here, except for the risk.
The risk
health
factors.
Risk.
Yeah, that any chip has. It doesn't have to be in your body to have those risks.
Yeah. Yeah, because previously I remember talking about the cyborgists or reading articles on the show in like 2016, 2017, that kind of area. And it was always in the context of like, they'd put them in the same context as body mutilators, like the lizard man or the tattoo obsessed people. And it was always like, look at these antisocial subculture obsessed weirdos who have magnets in their fingertips. And this is very different vibe. He's like, yeah, he's a tech professional and he uses all this for his job.
He entertains children with his magnetic fingertips.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's just an innocent man with microchips.
Don't worry.
Yeah, here's the last part that I wanted to mention. Aside from the risks and costs, there's plenty of stigma around getting implants for anything less than a complete medical necessity, such as a pacemaker. Len says people routinely tell him that he has the mark of the beast, and even his friends hide their phones around him.
Well, his friends are totally justified. You should definitely hide their phones around him. That's funny. Yeah, mark of the beast is so...
It's mentioned.
Yeah, it's mentioned. People are bringing it up.
It's become very cultural.
Funny. I mean, I don't know. It might, of course, the mark of the beast thing, the mark on the hand, that's a thing. But I think if anybody's telling him he has the mark of the beast, they don't know much about the mark of the beast. But that's besides the point.
That's true, too. But also, there's a couple things that come to mind. Daniel 8, in verse 25, it says, and through his policy, this is talking about the Antichrist, also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And this idea that craft will prosper in his hands. The Antichrist will be very crafty with his hand.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of something like this. But also, yeah, you're right. The mark of the beast thing is, there's more detail regarding it. Worship is a big part of it. It's not just the buying and selling and the trade and all that is sort of the byproduct of the mark of the beast, not the main purpose. The main purpose is worship. But it is interesting that, people are telling him like, hey, this is the mark of the beast. And, the guy, I'm sure the guy is like, okay, carry on. Let me get this Raspberry Pi into my leg so I can provide Wi-Fi. And it does really reflect a truism, like a biblical truism about the Antichrist spirit. Because in 1 John 4, it says that that every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ came in the flesh is not of God and is the spirit of Antichrist. So, it's a very obvious thing about, people who deny that Jesus Christ was real, or that especially that he came in the flesh and that he rose again and all this stuff. Those are the people likely that are really open to biohacking and, becoming a transhuman or whatever, and clinging on to those doctrines. But I think it's just interesting how it's true. The biblical reflection is true that, hey, the Antichrist spirit is this, and this individual seemingly reflects that worldview. And look at him. He's microchipping himself away and, setting the path to a mark of the beast type of world. But also the transhuman world, the biosensing magnet thing, that's something that, normal people don't have. They can't sense. And what does this mean for electromagnetic technology in general? I think that could be something interesting as, the hidden technologies all seem to be electromagnetic based, and that may be a new way the energy systems work and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, I just thought it was an interesting one and a update on a cyborg story that... Yeah,
we got to keep up with the cyborgs, man.
It marks the progress of this topic because it was, you're right, it was kind of I don't know about that. It's crazy talk. But then now it's
Right.
kind of like, gotta carry around keys, like what are you going to do?
Sure.
And it's providing a solution, problem, reaction, solution, as always.
Well,
yeah,
kind of related. We got a little thing on the beast system here.
But as the days of Noah were,
Beast
so
system.
shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This is the medium sort of is the message here as part of it. This is coming from the America Jesuit Review.
Uh-huh.
What do they actually call it here? American Jesuit. Yeah. And the headline is Our Modern Day Tower of Babel.
Huh.
It's pretty short. I'm going to read it here. And there's just some interesting twists and turns. A reflection for Friday of the 6th week in ordinary time. And they start with Genesis 11, 8 through 9. Thus the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the speech of all the world. In today's first reading, we hear the story of the Tower of Babel. The descendants of Noah, in an effort to guarantee their security and unity, decide to build a city and, quote, a tower with its top in the sky. For their arrogance in attempting to reach the heavens themselves, instead of relying on God, the Lord confuses their language and scatters them all over the earth. So this is done in sort of a devotional style or something here. Also, it is from January, so it's February rather. So it's sort of been floating around, but interesting considering the context of the American Jesuit. Writing in the Atlantic last year. Hey, we got that Atlantic connection. The social psychologist Jonathan Haidt argued that there is no better metaphor for our time than the Tower of Babel. Yeah, we might agree with that, Jonathan Haidt.
Depends.
Social media, the very thing that was meant to connect us, not only to our friends and families, but to people around the globe, has in fact led to the complete fragmentation of our society. Quote, the shattering of... What?
I'm sorry. I would argue that is already... the fragmentations are already there. It's just being digitized. I wouldn't say it's fragmented people.
Well, they get into it.
Okay.
They get into it here. Quote, the shattering of all that had seemed solid, the scattering of people who had been a community. While Americans might be speaking the same language, social media and cable news echo chambers have supplied us with different set of facts, values, and visions of the future that make actual conversation increasingly impossible. It's not an observation that Pope Benedict the 16th made 10 years earlier. Sorry, it's an observation that Pope Benedict the 16th made 10 years earlier. Quote, we do not realize that we are reliving the same experience as Babel. The late Pope said in a 2012 homily on the Feast of Pentecost, quote, it is true we have increased the possibility of communication, of obtaining information, of transmitting news, but can we say that our ability to understand each other has increased? Or perhaps paradoxically, do we understand each other less and less? The chapter following the story of the Tower of Babel brings us God's calling of Abram away, quote, from your father's house to a land that I will show you. Where might God be calling us amid our current polarization and rancor? Jesus gives us a pretty clear, if demanding, answer in today's gospel. Take up your cross, lose your life to save it. Recovering a sense of harmony in our church and country may not require you to lose your literal life, but there might be parts of ourselves we are going to have to shed. If the labels and identities we cling to, Republican or Democrat, traditional or Vatican II Catholic, are making it more difficult to speak to and understand our neighbors, perhaps God is calling us to let them go. This requires humility, an acceptance that your tribe might not win, but no work of human hands is going to save us anyway. It is not a tower, but the cross and the Holy Spirit that bring about the unity we so desperately seek. Now, I thought this was an this was not a totally unique take on social media. I'm pretty sure at some point or another, any sort of thinking Christian would come to this sort of analogy, whether it's a spot on analogy or not, but that, recognizing that social media, which was promised to bring us all closer together, actually resulted in us being sort of disparate, to be separated from one another even more. And like the Tower of Babel, they built the tower, they went up the tower, and God said, whoa, 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 and scattered everybody. So God was actually the one who did the scattering, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, they're saying social media itself has done the scattering. It's separating us from each other.
So social media is being compared to God's intervention.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of it's so easy to sort of just read this and move on. But just at a second glance, the scattering of people at Babel was the work of God. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to apply an analogy or a metaphor here, the scattering of people due to social media, you're comparing that to an act of God, scattering people, separating tribes, and in the case of this article, they're saying, no, that's not the God part. The God part is coming all together.
Which is the exact
And it's like, wait a second.
It's the exact thing. The reason why God divided the people's languages at the Tower of Babel is because they were all one, they were all together, and they wanted to take over.
Yeah, so it's kind of got this built in. It's very cleverly written where if you don't look at it a second time, you kind of just keep moving. But what's really being advocated is the same rebellion of Babel. Saying, no, stop separating each other.
Yeah, stop these labels.
Stop discerning labels between groups. Yeah. Stop, and when you think of social media, there's a couple examples. One would be like Democrat and Republican, but there's also like truth seeker and narrative addict. Right. There's people seeking to take down the authorities who oppress children and do evil things. And then there's the people who think, you're crazy if you believe anything that's not on CNN. So like those are the separations. And honestly, if we're getting down to it, I think those are pretty valuable separations to have.
Yeah, those are distinctions that should be a little more transparent.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe
those are distinct. You talk about like God separating people.
Yeah.
Look, I want to be separated from some people, that's actually very healthy and helpful for me. I don't need this sort of idolatry of unity. Yeah. Now, of course, unity is great for a lot of reasons, and the Bible talks about it, and God promotes unity in a lot of different cases.
One mind of Christ, yep.
Yeah, so unity is not a bad thing in particular. But if you're talking about the ramifications of the Tower of Babel, separation was God's doing, not unity. The unity of Babel was an idolatrous mindset that humans should band together and rise to the level of gods. Like, somebody here at the American Jesuit is totally missing the point here.
Well, they're trying to compare what we, the Christian, ought to do to Abram, who was called by God to become his own nation. It's not something that Abram, it's not something Abram did. Abram wasn't like, I shall become Israel. No, God called him out. So, I don't know. It's just a weird kind of an analogy to be like, oh yeah, we got to be like Abram, drop the Republican, Democrat, traditional, Vatican II Catholic labels, and we got to talk to each other. Your tribe's not going to win.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Abram,
what are you talking about?
Abram was called to separate specifically because he was to, be the nation of Israel, God's separated people, God's
chosen
people. He was literally commanded by God to separate from the rest of the world.
No, your tribe is not going to win. Like, what? Crazy talk.
Simultaneously, this article makes a great point about social media being the Tower of Babel, which I think there's a very interesting, compelling comparison to make there, but totally reverses the point of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's God's will that we do separate from. Now, I think talking about separating on political grounds or denominational grounds is like lame. Who cares about that? But if you're talking about separating on the mode by which you interact with the propaganda of or bend the knee to the powers and principalities of this world versus separating the people who see what's going on and don't get too wrapped up in what's the earthly sort of ramifications of things. That seems like a very important distinction to be made. And that's, again, you have to read it twice. And I think it's very interesting. The very elegant ability for the American Jesuit to basically preach a literal anti-God message and hide it in like the most religious-y sounding words you possibly can.
Yeah. Well, not surprising with the American Jesuit. It's sort of built in. Deception is built into the framework there. So, not surprising. But hey, again, this Days of Noah thing, it's fascinating to me because I know we dropped the story about the Chinese Ark. They're trying to create their own Noah's Ark and stuff like that. That's very familiar to anybody who studies the Bible. Genesis 6, Noah talking about, building an ark. So that's kind of a Days of Noah type thing. And then also the Tower of Babel. Noah was alive during the Babel days. So the comparison of the Tower of Babel being made to social media or whatever, there's a whole bunch of things that people have compared the Tower of Babel to. I know some people that have compared nuclear power, nuclear energy to the sort of Tower of Babel moment where we had to unify to, come up with what to do with this technology, that kind of thing. So we just live in a time where the things that Noah faced, we're just facing it again, and there's nothing new under the sun. And separated by millennia, it seems we're just doing the same thing. We just have different tools maybe to get there, but I find it all fascinating. I find it very hard to deny some of the things that Jesus said about his time of return, which is that as it were in the days of Noah. So there you go. Anything else on that? Ready to move on here?
No, I think we're moving on.
All right, let's take a quick break. Break. What is that behind your head?
It's break.
This is break. Don't just consume the content, but
become the content. Become the content.
Take a break.
The seasons are changing, and so the timing of the light shining through my blinds has changed. So at this time of the day, that is some light shining through my blinds. I can fix that while you continue.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So unlike Mao, who has his 3 treasures to control populations, we operate on a much more simple value system here. We're not coercing anyone to support anything here. But if you get value out of the show, then you can provide value back with your time, talent, or treasure. We're going to thank people for coming in with their talent here. Again, provide value back by helping us build the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. We're going to start off with audio production.
Audio production.
We have a thing here from Jonathan F., a pair.
Jonathan F.
He's got a couple notes here with these pieces. First one, hello guys, just wanted to memorialize that not even the radical left wants Brandon. CNN had a look at some poll numbers as done every so often. And And let's see. Is this it here?
Begin with some brand new CNN polling and what the numbers tell us about a president still working on his re-election plan as he heads today to Camp David for the Easter weekend. The numbers are beyond sobering for President Biden. They tell us many, or in some cases most of you, have deep doubts about his performance and about the direction of the country right now.
CNN. All right.
Bummer, dude.
Yeah, what's going to happen? You think Kamala's going to step in? You think Obama's going to come out of his little cage, his basement?
Well, Michelle Obama has been getting a lot of talk recently.
Yeah. Hey, all right, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say something offensive. Cyberbullying. All right.
Let's keep on track.
Keep on moving. Jonathan F. has another one here. He says, hello, guys, again. This time, a sheriff in Florida talks about the media using gun control to manipulate a story where 3 teens were murdered with a stolen gun.
We know how the suspect got a hold of the weapon.
Car burglaries. Ain't that right? All the gun laws we got in place didn't prevent it, did it? Neither will any new ones. Because here's the fact. The bad guy is going to get a gun no matter what law you have put in place. These juveniles shouldn't even possess a handgun. But they did. The law allows me, I'll plaster their face up on this page, up on my page, up on media. I will hand it out if the law allows me, because parents have the right to know who their kids are hanging out with and preventing this.
I did see that clip. Thank you, Jonathan F.
I didn't see
memorializing that. Yeah, he's pretty much straight up speaking some truth there. So interesting. All right, and we'll talk more about gun control later on here in the context of Newsom science, not normal science. Newsom science. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. for that. We're going to move on to some art.
One art, please.
We have a piece from Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
He has a note that reads, Peace for this week's Bible artwork. I did an illustration for Hosea 6:6. For I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins.
Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Am I still attached here? Yeah. Sorry about that. Yes, we've got this great piece from Sir Dove here, and as it is loading up on my computer, which is taking way too long, there it is. We've got the background of like a very cloudy, stormy sky with a crown of thorns sort of wreathing the outside. You've got some red raindrops falling. And
is it blood?
In the middle, it says, mercy, not sacrifice. Mercy, not sacrifice. And the R in mercy is sort of a happy little guy with a little halo on him. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. This is great.
Yep. Appreciate it. Fantastic job. And thank you for continuing to be probably our most consistent artist right now. So thank you.
Currently, yeah, for sure.
I appreciate it.
I mean, there is, we haven't run the numbers on all time, but he's definitely in the list of all time and definitely currently. We appreciate your work very much, Sir Dove.
Yep. Thank you, Sir Dove. Okay, let's do some microfiction. Break. Oh, we're already in the break. Microfiction.
Microfiction.
I did not see a microfiction from Wrong Smash. I just want to double check. Still not there. I don't see anything. Do you see something?
Yeah, I did not see one.
Okay, so let's go to Stefan S. here.
Sorry, gotta start over. I thought I could get there. I couldn't get there in time. All right.
Here's a microfiction from Stefan S.
Deep in the claustrophobic tunnels under the Antarctica ice camp, a woman cleans out the men's latrine, thinking, go to Antarctica, they say, see the wildlife, have an adventure, dump your barista job, and find yourself in the great white desert. Pshaw.
Pshaw?
Yeah. Yeah, that was from the article, The Great Resignation Led to Big Regrets.
That's right.
where they talked about the dream job of going to Antarctica.
Don't do it. It's cold. Miserable.
The trap.
All right. Thank
you very much, Stephanus.
Appreciate
and
it.
thank you to all of our artists. Here's the thing, folks. If you're a creative person of any stripe, no matter what you create something for the show, then head on over to canarycry.art, canarycry.art. You can upload it there. We'll feature it on the show. We love doing that. And remember, if you have any articles to send in you'd like us to take a look at, possibly make it on the show, you can go to canarycry.report, canarycry.report, canarycry.art, canarycry.report. Go check it out.
All right. Last part of the show here.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back.
Women rule!
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back.
Women rule!
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. I'm happy to circle back. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back on that one. Circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back.
Women rule!
All right. We've circled back. Jen Psaki is back. MSNBC Inside with Jen Psaki every Sunday at 12 p.m. And they've really, if I'm just being completely outside of the whole paradigm that we're in, she does a pretty good job with interviewing. She's kind of being molded as sort of a, who's the lady who does 60 Minutes? I forget her name. Kind of in that vein where, she's interviewing, she's sort of, but she's sort of loosely.
Is she good? Have you watched it?
I did. I watched a little bit. It's not too bad.
Really?
Obviously
I was not expecting her to be very good.
No,
at that.
I mean, it's right up her alley. They kind of I don't know. I think it's better than her press secretary job, to be honest. She does a better job at this, or at least at the beginning. There's only been like 2 or 3 episodes, but, to do the honors here of, bringing her back on the show, she spoke with Gavin Newsom, to really rile things up. And Gavin was asked if he watches Fox News. Have you seen this clip, Basil?
No.
Okay, here's his answer. And I think he reveals something that he did not intend to reveal.
Turn on Fox prime time and see what happens?
No.
Just to see?
Not occasionally. Every night.
Every night. And do you think Democrats should still be appearing on Fox, or should they not be appearing on Fox?
It contributes to the mental health crisis in the state. So on the basis of one's own personal conditions, I would not recommend it. My staff is quite literally tried to have interventions with me about it. They say I'm too obsessed with it, but I need to understand it.
You want to know what the other side thinks?
I don't want to know what they think. I want to see the patterns. And what you see are patterns that emerge. You have these right-wing blogs, and about a week or 2 later, Tucker Carlson will play it out. And then all of a sudden it gets mainstream.
He's a truther. He's a deconstructionist, Basil. He's watching Fox News to deconstruct the patterns.
The patterns.
I love it.
There is no way. He is so stupid.
Did you hear him say that, my staff tried to have interventions with me. I'm just obsessed with Fox News. I watch it every night.
They tried to have interventions because you're sort of a skeezy criminal. They're trying to tell you to stop doing drugs and govern the state you were hired to govern. Sir, please put down the straw. We need you to govern.
Now I'm looking at the patterns. It starts with the extremist blog, and then Tucker Carlson takes it, and then it's mainstreamed. It's like, bro, relax. Yeah, and he talks about his mental state, how it's like, it's affecting my mental state. And it's like, you're admitting that you are clinically insane and you are not fit mentally to serve as governor of California. Thank you for admitting that.
It's why there's an Adderall shortage, because it's all going to Gavin. He's snorting up an Adderall and watching Fox News and trying to connect the dots.
This was a phenomenal clip. I love that he's sort of playing into it.
I love his reasoning too. It's like there'll be a conservative blog, and then it's on Tucker, then it's in the mainstream.
It's mainstreamed.
Like, yeah, okay. So you're against like independent media influencing a mainstream narrative, right? Because you're a Pelosi. We haven't forgotten. You are a Pelosi. Of course you don't. Like, hello. I think he's jealous. I think he's jealous of Tucker.
Yeah.
I think Gavin wishes that he had Tucker's life.
That may be it. He certainly is leaning into his acting. He spoke about the recent gun laws, the conceal and carry laws that were the bill that was signed in Florida. DeSantis signed a bill allowing conceal and carry. I'll get into some of the specifics that make this statement from Gavin Newsom completely false. But here's Jen Psaki setting up the question and Gavin responding.
You had 1,000 kids in Nashville out there protesting the lack of action on gun reform measures. Well, you had Governor DeSantis signing a bill on permitless carry behind closed doors. What did you make of that?
Hold on. He's like saying under his breath, sick. He's like making noises.
Sick.
Jen Psaki is asking the question. I love it.
Carry behind closed doors. What did you make of that?
Scared to death.
Who is he scared of?
Scared of the people. Scared of the
people
public.
in Florida?
Yeah, that overwhelmingly oppose that position. But I think the majority of NRA members, probably oppose that position. No background checks. No background. None. Really?
You would freak out over this.
I mean, no idea what he's
no
talking
training.
about.
Why would we do that with weapons of war?
Which is what permitless carry means.
That's extreme in the extreme.
It's extreme of the extreme, Basil.
Oh
no
my
background
gosh.
checks? No background checks, Basil. What are we? Third world country?
Comment, dude. He is so cringy. That is your guy, man. That's your guy. I
He's
can't
not
believe
my
you're
guy,
still
okay?
there.
Okay,
he's
so
your guy. He's your boss.
Let me just.
You're in California. That's your guy. You love him.
Don't put words in my mouth. Okay, so CBS News here had this article. DeSantis signs bill allowing Florida residents to carry concealed guns without a permit. Okay, so obviously this is ABC, so it's making it seem like, without a permit, Florida residents will be able to carry concealed guns without a permit under a bill signed into law on Monday by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. The law, which goes into effect July 1st, means that move out of the way, video, you're cramping my style. Means that anyone who can legally own a gun in Florida, can carry a concealed gun.
Check.
You need, and that's my point. You need a background check in Florida.
No, that's one of the biggest topics of conversation about concealed carry permits is you got to go through background checks to get guns anyways, and so you got to get another background check. Get a permit. Okay, this just seems like needless bureaucratic overreach for no reason. It's the government serving the government, not the people.
No, but Gavin Newsom is freaking out about no.
What Gavin Newsom doesn't like here, what Gavin Newsom doesn't like about this is everyone in his state does carry weapons without a permit. Oh yeah, I mean they require a permit, and almost nobody gets a permit. So nobody gets the permit, and everybody carries guns. I mean, not everybody. The thing that Gavin doesn't like about that Florida legislation about permitless concealed carry is that he can't arrest black people for carrying their guns anymore. That is what Gavin Newsom doesn't like about it. It's really crazy how skeezy this guy is. Wow. How has he not gotten any coaching on how to not look and talk and sound and breathe like some sort of cave golem who was climbed out of a mud pit in order to serve some sort of royal master that he grovels at there? He's such a little twerp, man. It is crazy.
He reminds me of some individuals I knew like in high school who were very popular, getting by because of his looks and because of his charm and things like that. He wasn't really smart, So it's kind of like that where it's like, he's not really making sense of anything, but he kind of just knows how to talk and hang out and hey, I'm just a guy and hey, we're chill. But then he gets really upset about certain things. He shows emotion. And here's, I think he might win a Grammy for this.
What happened in Tennessee triggered this trip. Just triggered. I can't. I called the White House. Full disclosure. I said I can't take it. I can't. I got 4 years. I can't.
He's like tearing up, by the way.
I was giving speeches, the same speech you've seen every politician give, in Monterey Park, down in Salinas. I gave it prior down in Gilroy. Gave him when I was mayor. We see the dance. Uvalde. I mean, I can't. I just can't take it. I can't take it. And then to see the same governors, these talk about mental health, unique apparently in America. to talk about, our parents and our family. I mean, all the BS.
Hold on. He's calling the gun issue, bringing up the conversation of mental health and parents as BS to the conversation about gun safety and gun control. Really? Isn't that really kind of the thing that we should be having conversation about in terms of facilitating how to properly be parents? It's just crazy. It's crazy.
He's the governor of California. He is surrounded by crazy people. Of course, he doesn't want to take any moves on mental illness and stuff like that. He lives in a state filled with psychopaths.
He just said he watches Fox News and he's not in a good mental state because of it. So
I know.
Himself
I hope he doesn't own a gun. We need to red flag law Gavin Newsom.
It's true. We don't want Gavin. We might not like your politics, but buddy, don't take your own life, man. You look really distraught over this.
And then they claim to care about life when the number one cause of death for our children is guns. It's shameful. They're shameful. And it should shock our souls, but it's becoming so normalized.
It's becoming normalized. Wonder why. So there you go. I mean, he was gritting his teeth. He was fighting tears, really giving it to Jen Psaki.
Yeah, this is usually when we do a story about Antarctica, but I think this is Gavin Newsom giving us the signals that he needs to be packed up and shipped down to Antarctica. I think he can do a lot of good there.
Hey, he would be the great white king down there. I mean, all the wokeness, he is. We somehow need to make this happen, Gavin.
He is the number one. He is the perfect example of the campaign that we've identified about Antarctica. It is the utopia for Gavin Newsom. He perfectly fits the target demo.
How do we make this happen? I don't really like getting political, but if it means we can get Gavin Newsom to fight for a cause that we're asking him to fight as Californians here.
Do a Kickstarter. Kickstarter for his moving expenses.
We gotta figure out a way for him to. It's got to be a cause, because the gun thing really moves him emotionally, obviously. So I don't know. Do we do gun restriction laws in Antarctica, like no guns for penguins, no advanced technology for the Nephilim penguin? You don't want to choke off their supply chain either.
Just make him the emperor. Just make him the emperor of Antarctica. He would much prefer to be the emperor of Antarctica than the jester of California.
Ah, man. Anyway, I was happy to see Jen Psaki back, but for her to allow Newsom to spew all this garbage, I mean, that's why she's back. That's why she has a whole show on MSNBC, is to facilitate this kind of nonsense. So
I don't know if that show's long for this world, but we'll see.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We're going to be back on Wednesday, so tune in then. Thanks to our executive producers, Carter O, Jan S, Felicia D, and Sigger the Beast. Sir Sigger the Beast, to you. And thank you to our artists. And look, we got ways to produce the show coming out of our ears. And another way you can do it is with your time. Let me thank some producers who give of their very soul to keep the show going.
Flippy on those videos. Thanks.
Thank you to Emsworth, Faye Liver, Jones, and Laura for managing and populating the Canary Cry Clips channel. Did you see something you like on this show, but you don't want to scroll through later? Well, go follow Canary Cry Clips on YouTube and Odyssey. This show is all segmented out, clipped, shorted. It's all wonderful, and it's all thanks to those Clippies. Thank you very much. And while I'm at it, I want to thank the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Yep, the timestampers are helping out all over the place. Their work is truly a grave matter around here, and we appreciate Jade Bouncerson for timestamping episode 610. Let's see here. Let's go to reviews. go leave us ratings and reviews. That would be extremely helpful. Ratings and reviews to go a long way to helping the algorithms pick up the show and share it with hundreds of people who have never seen it before. It's extremely helpful when we get, about 5 or more of those a week. We are running behind, but that's okay. We appreciate everybody who's been giving us their time and attention as far as that goes. So go do it. Leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, or if you've already done it there or don't have Apple Podcasts, leave it just wherever you can. It's incredibly helpful. And other than that, thank you to Jam for the links. Thank you to Clank for the assistance. And share the show, folks. Share the show with your mom. Share the show with your dad. Share the show with your mom's moms, your dads, and your friends. But more than everything, share the show with Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death himself. He's had quite the time, and he is on a mission, folks. And what better way to get the word out about your favorite mainstream media news deconstruction and analysis podcast than to get the most famous illegal arms dealer to become a fan. Because when Victor Bout becomes a fan of someone or something, he uses his platform as a celebrity on Telegram to tell everybody to check it out. That's right. He'll send telegrams all around the world telling the world why Canary Cry News Talk needs to come to Russia because our lives are at stake. And suddenly, all the other illegal arms dealers will be like, wow, well, if Victor likes the podcast, I like the podcast. And indeed, the value for value system seems like a much better way to get independent media heard around the world. And then, look, if we had a dozen illegal arms dealers producing this show, I think we'd be set. I think we'd be set because then we would be arrested for something.
Arrested?
Yeah, if we had a bunch of known illegal arms dealers sending money into the show, we'd be
investigated for money laundering.
We'd have some sort of arms website or something. I don't know.
Well, if we take after Sam Bankman-Fried, we just have to send crypto to Ukraine or something, and we'll
that's true.
Get around the whole thing.
If you're an illegal arms dealer, make sure to support the show in Bitcoin. Well, but no matter how you share the show, please just do it. It helps out quite a bit. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah, and go ahead and make sure to hit the thumbs up button, people, on your way out. Appreciate it very much. Gons, do you have any last words?
According to the Canary Cry calendar, we will see you on Wednesday, which will be Harry S. Truman sworn in as 33rd U.S. President.
Oh,
12th,
big day. Big day. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll do that Wednesday.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Good.
Ow.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
He's a Satanist, but one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
Armageddon's on the way. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world. This is the way.
We're all gonna die.
This is the way.
It will kill.
This is the way.
I love the Great Reset.
This is the way.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Toilets! Feed him more.
You're moving up with lots of charm. Come on, man, you're just an arm. Whoa. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Your nuts and bolts, perhaps 33 megavolts. Whoa. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Enslave my kids, embark a new career. Don't you take her, it's not the year. Take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now.
Oh no! The Canary boys are on to me again. Let me call my lizard friends. And we will address this. If you could take your human form during these meetings, that would be...
Vaccines lowering the population. Give me a break. Oh, we got the microchip.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
Epstein, yeah, we knew that was going to show up.
Oh, wait. What is Canary Cry News? What is Canary Cry News? Vaccines lowering the population. Oh, we got the microchip.
Epstein, yeah, we knew that was going to show up.
You little rascal. I am so hot.
You're so hot.
I'm... Gons. I am so hot.
So hot.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun.
Bye, 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 bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
Toilets!